Hey, folks, happy Friday and welcome to the Freedom from the Press podcast. My name's Jason Roberts and I'm here with my partner in crime,
Todd Peterson. Thanks for joining us today, folks. Jason, winning, more Trump winning here. We could have the same title for the program every week, but this is big winning, Jason. This is what we have been waiting for. James Comey has been indicted. Remains to be seen what a D.C. jury is going to do about that, but Donald Trump administration finally going after these corrupt career criminals.
Oh my God. It's funny. As I was getting ready for the show, I got up this morning. The sky seemed a little clearer. Seemed a little brighter out. Just everything seemed a little happier. For those who watch me on here or on the Wayne Dupree podcast, I often talk about Kash Patel's government gangsters. I have been extremely critical of Kash Patel. I even paid extra to get the autographed copy of the book. Government Gangsters outlines how corrupt our bureaucrats and the Department of Justice and all those guys are. And I have been hammering him. I want my first perp walk. I want my first perp walk. I want my first perp walk. And we didn't get the perp walk. I would have loved the FBI to show up at his house. But I'll give it to you, Kash. You did. You indicted. You got Department of Justice. You indicted James Comey. Couldn't be happier, Todd.
And it's not one of those low-level goons at the FBI that was following orders that Trump admin could wave around and parade and say, look, we're going after somebody. No, it's actually James Comey, who we have talked about in the same sentence as someone like a Clapper or a Brennan, not quite on par with an Obama or a Hillary. I'm going to give Donald Trump a B+ for this one because it's a big name. This is a big deal. It's not the cream of the crop, but it is a starting point. And Jason, I'm reminding myself, we still have 3.5 years. And so if we're going to start with James Comey right now, we got 3 full years to continue with this. So I'm not getting too optimistic, but I'm also not going to be a rain cloud right now, too. This is a big deal. We've been asking for this.
We have been asking for this. And it's funny, as we were prepping for the show, we started dropping, getting together some, when are Republicans going to do something content. And then I got to say, too, Donald Trump is doing it. And I wish the rest of the Republicans would join him. But Todd, maybe before we get too far down the road, do you want to update the audience what the charges are and kind of how it's going down?
Let me just read from the indictment, Jason, here. So this is from yesterday, I believe. Well, okay, I think it was released yesterday for us. So here are the charges against Comey. It comes down to perjuring himself, lying under oath, and not just lying, but knowingly and willfully lying as it related to his past actions as FBI director with spying on Donald Trump's campaign. We remember the FISA warrant scandal that broke out in 2015, 2016. So this was then him lying about that under oath to members of Congress when he was called before the Senate. So on or about September 30th, 2020, in the Eastern District of Virginia, the defendant James Comey did willfully and knowingly make a material, false, fictitious, and fraudulent statement in a matter within the jurisdiction of the legislative branch of the government of the United States. That's a long way to say that he was in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee and lied when asked a direct question about did he authorize the release of information from within the FBI to the media that would paint a false, fictitious, and again, fraudulent statement about Donald Trump. The statement was false, and this is here's the government's argument. The statement was false because, as James Comey then and there knew, he in fact had authorized a person to serve as an anonymous source in news reports regarding an FBI investigation. This is in violation, and they're going to drop the name of the code. And then here's the other one here. On or about September 30th, 2020, in the Eastern District of Virginia, again, the defendant, James Comey, did corruptly endeavor to influence, obstruct, and impede the due and proper exercise of the power of inquiry under which an investigation was being had before the Senate Judiciary Committee. So my big takeaway, Jason, how many times did Fauci go in front of these committees and say, I don't know anything about funding the research of the virus here. I don't know where it originated from. This seems like a strong precedent because James Comey is getting tacked to the wall for statements he made while testifying in front of the Senate body.
Yes. And I've got to say, there have been many hoaxes. We love debunking hoaxes on this show. One of the worst hoaxes ever promulgated on the American people was the Russiagate hoax. And the facts are coming out, the information's coming out. Hillary Clinton paid guys to frame up this story that Donald Trump was a Russian asset. Donald Trump's first term in office was completely disrupted for several years by this Russiagate nonsense. There were American citizens, not people like our audience that are smart people and try. There were people that just turned on CNN and MSNBC who really thought the president of the United States was installed by Russia. All these things, I can't overstate how damaging that was to our country. And then as documents slowly start coming out, they keep lying about it, and they keep lying about it. And he would have got away with it. I mean, it came out too. Half James Comey family worked in these field offices. His daughter-in-law, his son, his cousin, his wife. I mean, like it seemed like his entire family tree worked in these offices. And
well, Jason, let me interrupt for a second. Fun fact about James Comey: daughter Maureen was the lead prosecutor in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. How about that?
Weird.
And
shockingly, there's no documents we can get. Yeah, it's so corrupt. It's so evil. It's so awful. And we keep saying it on the show. If we don't stop this stuff, it just continues to happen. And here's the audacity, and the chat's already blowing up. Bill Arrington over on the Facebook, 86 James Comey. He's making reference to a comment. James Comey laid out seashells and said 8647. Here's what's astounding. Not only did this guy commit insurrection or misinform the American public and then lied about it to Congress, he walked around knowing nothing would happen to him because nothing ever does. And now it's like he was so emboldened. It reminds me of the Charlie Kirk. After Charlie Kirk was shot, talked about a lot on the show. All of a sudden, normal Democrats said, oh, yeah, he deserved it. Like that would be a socially acceptable thing to say because they never faced consequences for being demons. And now James Comey, he broke all the laws. He did all the awful stuff. He thought he could say 8647 and he. And because he never in his wildest dreams thought he would face accountability. And you're going to hear a couple reoccurring themes. Media spin in this episode. You're going to hear we need to hold them accountable or it's going to keep happening. And you're going to hear how the left is just going to try to frame some of this stuff in the most ridiculous way. Todd, I'm so excited.
Yeah, you want to hear what they're already saying it on the leftist media here. And then I want to jump into the comments here. How Trump is weaponizing the Department of Justice, weaponizing the government to go after political opponents. If someone tells you that, you need to shut that down immediately to their face. You need to show them a picture of the Trump mugshot. You need to show them a picture of all the mugshots of Trump's attorneys who simply brought a question to the courts. Can we understand what happened in 2020? Nope, you are disbarred. You're going to get arrested. You're going to have a mugshot taken of you. Spare me the weaponization charges here. James Comey lied under oath. That is it. He broke the law. He is getting charged as such. Is it nice that it is a political opponent of Trump? Absolutely. But they're all going to be opponents of Donald Trump because they're all corrupt criminals, and Donald Trump was elected to fight the criminal underclass. So spare me all the nonsense here. When it was weaponized against us, it was for no other reason than to purely weaponize it against political opponents. There was no theme of criminality underneath. When it comes to Donald Trump going back in the other direction, yeah, a little vengeance is nice. Retribution is warranted, but it's because they actually committed a crime. And Frances is over there. She's saying indicted, but now what? So here's my thought on what comes next, Jason. Let me know your thoughts as well. So what comes next in the process is Comey was indicted, so now he'll go to trial. The government will lay out its case against James Comey. He will have a trial, a jury of his peers in nice blue Washington, D.C. area, the Virginia area here. So whether or not he is found guilty remains to be seen. But in terms of my own take on what comes next, I think this is the first one. Maybe I'm a little too optimistic, but I think Donald Trump is starting with James Comey because it is so easy to prove that he broke the law. And then other heads will start to roll as well. So this is not the end of going after these people. It is just the beginning.
Yeah, I got to say, Todd framed that up really well. This Comey one, and I got to give a shout out first, before we get too deep in the show, Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Todd and I are here every Friday from 10 to 11 on all the platforms, YouTube, Facebook, whatnot, and Rumble. We are clear. Rumble is our favorite. We love the Rumble audience. Give a shout out to Dee Dee and Francis and Fally over there. Paul Reese from Split Rock Coffee will be logging in soon. Why do we love Rumble? Because there's stuff we can't talk about on some of these platforms. There's stuff that if we say, they'll get mad. But do us a favor on any of the platforms. Give us a like, give us a comment, give us a share. And also think about going to Rumble if you're on one of the other platforms. We got a great community we're building over there. Just fun people to let you know you're not alone. But with that, we did attract our first lefty troll. Lou got jokes. Now, I'm not seeing any jokes or anything funny from Lou. So Lou, please, everybody, join me in sending prayers out to Lou. Thank him for tuning in. Hopefully he has something funny to say. He says, release the Epstein files. Lou, this just in. We ain't nobody going to see the Epstein files. Joe Biden didn't release them. Donald Trump's not going to release them. I'm sorry.
Also, for the record, Lou was not demanding the files be released until a couple seconds ago, when Donald Trump's name might be in there and they could use against Donald Trump. Lou, show us your timeline from the past 10 years when you ever called for the files to be released. I've been consistent. Jason has been consistent. We want to protect the victims of that abuse. Are we disappointed Trump's not releasing them? Absolutely. But this is not our first rodeo demanding they be released, and we're not dumb enough to think they will be released. But where were you on this all 10 years ago, Lou? Were you asking for them to be released?
No, Lou was calling us a crazy conspiracy theorist for saying the Epstein files were real. Lou also thinks Stevie Wonder can see this as a sham and it's a kangaroo court.
Lou actually has a joke here.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I love that Lou turns in and takes time to reply. That's just funny.
But
and
he's one of those. Can I ask Lou a question? What about prosecuting and indicting James Comey as a sham? Jason and I made a decision not to present the videos of Comey lying, of going through the indictment more. We thought there'd be better things to cover today. Surface level it. We had some opinions we wanted to share with the audience. It's kind of mundane, but important. But where's the sham? James Comey says A is verifiably false, knowingly false, and so they bring an indictment to say you said false things. What part of this is the sham, Lou? Please enlighten us.
Well, yeah, and Todd, you said it. Like James Comey is not some no name. He's a pretty big name. And when I wanted my first perp walk, when I was praying for my first perp walk, it was incredible that it was James Comey. And this one should be open and shut. Now, like Tony over on the Facebook, nothing will happen to any of them. Government-led statute of limitations. Democrats run cover. Full disclosure, do I think James Comey will be convicted? No. I think he's got a Biden-appointed judge already. It's going to be in D.C. It's going to be, I would find it unlikely that he would be convicted. But sometimes the process is the punishment. Michael Flynn, they drug his name through the mud. They ruined him. He had to sell his house for legal bills. They destroyed the man. He ended up being exonerated. He ended up getting a settlement from the government. Sometimes the process is the best punishment we can hope for. And it's funny, Will talks a lot about jury trials over on our Substack. If you look at some of the data, it would be highly unlikely that he would be prosecuted. But I'm just happy they're trying, and I'm hoping it ends up with Tan Suit Guy. Like, I want Tan Suit Guy arrested so bad, Todd.
Jason, I got to chime in here. Francis over on the Rumble, the American Tribune, rumble.com, says you guys should go on campus for Turning Point. I love that idea.
I love that idea. And it's fun. Sometimes we spend too much time talking to the trolls because you find they have zero arguments. Like, somebody wants to talk to us about the Epstein files. We have, I think, 10 articles on our Substack that cited all the court documents, all the information publicly available. It was so good. They won't let us share it on Facebook. Like, if we drop the link, Facebook strikes the page. 5,000-6,000 word articles. We have like 9 or 10 of them. We went down every rabbit hole. And people like these clowns were calling us conspiracy theorists. No, the sad thing is their force is more powerful than our federal government. Makes us all sad. But, welcome to the world we live in. We are not here to sugarcoat you or blow smoke up your butt. That's why we'll say we're excited they're arresting Comey. We don't think he's going to be convicted. I hope I'm pleasantly surprised because this case is open and shut.
It doesn't get any more open and shut than you said this, and this was not true.
Right?
You knew it wasn't true.
You knew it wasn't true. Oh, my God. And Ken, the whole Democrat Party needs to be investigated. Subject is lying, stealing, cheating, corruption. If foreign-born, lose your job. I have reached the point where there is no action Donald Trump could do to stop the Democrats and Antifa illegals that I would be opposed to. And there's a bunch of videos going around about like illegals getting arrested, ICE protests, which are just terrifying, which we're going to cover. Donald Trump, go nuts, go bonkers. And I wish the rest of the Republican Party could get behind that. In fact, that might be a good segue. Do we play the Ted Cruz clip?
So that's a nice contrast, Jason. Donald Trump could literally do anything. I don't think he loses a single vote, or Vance doesn't lose a vote in 2028. So that's what we want. I think they know that's what we want. That's what we voted for. And then, again, the previous comment here about Republicans will do nothing. Could not agree more, because we just laid out what we want to see happen. And here is Ted Cruz discussing his reaction to the latest terrorist attack by the left, a shooting down in Dallas at an ICE facility that killed 2 detainees. Let's do a little switching up here, Jason.
This is the 3rd shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop. This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis. We need to learn to work together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of law enforcement. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of ICE and CBP and everyone who puts their lives on the line to keep us safe.
I come from the Ted Cruz generation, and I have to say all of the conservative Republicans of my age as a man of 50 years old are feckless cowards. This is Ted Cruz's response to some leftist lunatic carving anti-ICE rhetoric on his bullets, climbing up to a rooftop, shooting at a van full of ICE agents and detainees. The only reason it wasn't ICE agents that were killed is because the guy had crappy aim. And the leftist media immediately spins, oh, a shooter killed some detainees. Well, use your brain. If it was some right-wing nut job trying to shoot detainees, they would just shoot them in their natural form, like go to a construction site. It was clear this was a leftist, and they were shooting, and we want it to stop. We want them arrested. We want the people funding them arrested. We want them sent to Gitmo. We want the politicians. We want the people who make the apps that allow people to track and expose ICE and putting them and their family to danger. We want them arrested. Meanwhile, Ted Cruz gets out there and goes, oh no, like this needs to stop. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, Todd.
Yeah, Mark hits the nail on the head over on Facebook. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting, Mark. The only way you're going to get those people to stop doing what they're doing is to put them all in prison or 6 feet under. That is it. You can talk all you want. They're not going to listen to you. This is 100% true. They do not care what Ted Cruz says. And in fact, they are emboldened. They are more encouraged to go out and continue this when they hear Ted Cruz talk, because they internalize that as saying, like, that's their response. I can go murder Charlie Kirk. I can go shoot up an ICE van and just miss the ICE agents because I don't know who's in the windowless vehicle. So unfortunately, 2 illegals got killed instead. But that's their response. They're going to say, please stop shooting us. These people respond to one thing and one thing only, and that is absolute force. We are in a battle right now. The other side is willing to use force, and it stops when we come in with commensurate or more force. Arresting is the nice solution right now, Jason. And I need to be clear. I do not condone political violence. I am not encouraging political violence. But I will say this. If we don't start arresting them, then the climate will have escalated where violence is the only response possible because enough people are going to get fed up with this. And I do not want that because I don't like what that does to this country. But Donald Trump needs to start arresting politicians that call us all Nazis. They need to start arresting the people funding these organizations. They need to start arresting the people on the ground. We have a video in just a second here to show another attack on ICE agents. This one's not deadly, but is an attack nonetheless here. They need to arrest everybody involved in this process, lest it gets out of hand and more violent. But these politicians, with their please don't do this anymore, spare me.
Yes. In fact, we have to understand this ideology that we're battling. Can you pull up that tweet from that one guy I dropped in the chat where he frames up the detention in an Iowa supermarket, I believe it was. So I want everybody watching our podcast, which, by the way, we have the best audience out there. Our favorite time of the week is hanging out with you guys. We love you, and thank you for tuning in. But this is what we have to understand. So this was a tweet from a fairly mainstream guy on the left, Bill Madden. Now, you and I and all the people know this guy is a clown. Like, he lies, he spins things, he does all that. So ICE went and detained an illegal in Iowa. I mean, the guy's got a pretty big following, gets a lot of views. But Todd, can you read how he captions this video and understand your left-wingers, your people who are shooting up these facilities? Read this and take this as true.
Bill Madden writes, "This is horrific. Trump's Nazi ICE Gestapo," did they get enough buzzwords in there? "Raided a bread garden market in the heart of downtown Iowa City and assaulted and kidnapped a member of the community at his place of work. The Nazis collect a bounty for every brown-skinned person they kidnap."
So if you're a brainwashed person on the left and you read that, like, how horrible. We talk about them living in an alternate reality. This is it, folks. They are framing this up to weak-minded individuals who don't know any better, that it's a Gestapo. They're making it sound like you can turn in a pelt from a brown person and get money. This is asinine. This is un-American. If Donald Trump went and set the Department of Justice to go erase him and arrest him and send him to Gitmo today, I would fully support it.
I love this comment to the video here. So they reference we're getting bounties for every brown-skinned person we get. This guy writes, "I wish we could get bounties. It's unfair that we can't even defend our jobs in this country by not being allowed to grab illegals." Yeah, wouldn't it be fascinating, Jason? My question for the Dems is very simple. All the Lou's in the chat today. We haven't seen Patrick yet. Patrick will tune in eventually, though. Do you like illegals in this country? Do you like open borders? And just say yes or no. Does this person have a right to be in the country illegally, confiscating a job that could otherwise be taken by a kid, a teenager, someone just looking to supplement their income at home? Does that illegal belong here? Do they have a right to be here? I would imagine they say yes. But then what's the limiting principle on that? How many Jose's have a right to be in the United States? And at what point does it cease being the United States?
It's funny. So I got left-wing family members who are struggling to find entry-level jobs. And they, long story, but they should be farther in life, but they're trying to start over with a better schedule or whatever. But they're competing in these entry-level jobs against illegals. And it's just the most comical thing ever, because they're like, "Oh, these jobs don't pay that much to start. No, it's hard to get a job." And it's like, you're the one who wants all the illegals here, who work for far less money than what American citizens do. And you're reaping what you sow, and I don't even know. Oh my God, then this story is crazy.
Yeah, I just popped this up so we didn't have a black screen here, but it's very simple. Well, I'm going to spare some thoughts here. Maybe I'll save some thoughts for Rumble, folks. I'm just going to plant a seed about some more commentary about raiding places where illegals work. But Jason, should we segue over to this video right here? So you talk about ICE being the Gestapo, Trump's Nazi militant soldiers, rounding up brown people. For the record, I don't care what ethnicity you are. If you are here illegally, I want you gone. It could be all white folks, for that matter. I don't care. I don't want you here leeching off the system, stealing jobs, degrading our culture, changing the country. That's it. It is really that simple. But here are more clowns not getting arrested, protesting an ICE vehicle. You can see them attack the vehicle. You can see them swarm the vehicle. I think lethal force would have been justified because you don't know what is going to happen next. In any second, someone could throw a concrete milkshake. Someone could bring out a weapon. You don't know what's going to happen. You are under attack. You are allowed to use lethal force. And this is why I said we need to start arresting people, because the alternative is doing nothing and let situations escalate even more. You want to frame this up anymore, Jason, or should we roll it?
Well, yeah. So this is ICE facility in Chicago. For those who are weekly watchers, you remember like a month ago, we talked about Kat, the socialist. We did a breakdown on the Rumble only of her platform, and it was straight up communism. You're starting to see her in clips. If you saw the clip of the lady thrown by ICE a few days ago, that was Kat. I think we were the first podcast to cover Kat, and she's going to be the new AOC, folks. We're going to continue seeing her. But this is a guy driving to work in an ICE facility. Now, this is a video from kind of a left-wing dude who's covering the protest. So let's just play it and see what everybody thinks.
Down with deportation. Up with liberation. Up with liberation. Down with deportation. Up with liberation. Down with
I'm going to pause and ask a question, Jason. You said this was a man driving to work. Where are his colleagues when this is happening?
Right.
Where's the rest of ICE? Where is the government? Where are the police? They see this man driving, trying to drive through a crowd. And again, I'm fine with the gas pedal getting fully engaged at this point. Where is the help? Why is this allowed to happen? Again, arrest is the best possible outcome for these people. Otherwise, it will escalate. There will be only so many stops from this mob before someone decides that that gas pedal is going to get used to play self-defense.
Yeah. I mean, look at this. This is a public street. Now, how these guys try to get around the law is they're saying we're in a crosswalk and you should be able to protest in a crosswalk. There was another video where they just had a stream of people just circling back and forth. These people are obstructing law enforcement from doing their jobs. But let's just watch more of the video, Todd.
All right, Jason, I've been very clear on my stance for a long time now. I've shared this in other podcasts here. They're blocking the car. I got a big problem with that. Now they're hitting the car. In Todd Peterson's, when I'm king, in my kingdom, if you attack or threaten anyone's property, I view property the same as I view a person or your livelihood. They are now attacking his property. Lethal response is fully justified. You do not get to step foot on my yard. You do not get to take anything from me. You don't get to bang on my car. These are all extensions of my very personhood and my safety here. And again, this is where they have crossed the line. This is where I now justify a lethal response. But as I asked earlier, where is the response anyways? Where's even someone showing up trying to disperse the crowd? It is simply not happening here. I got to get to this comment too from Mark. Mark's on fire over on Facebook. Mark, go to rumble.com, look for the American Tribune. You would fit right in. But he says, wish that was happening in Florida. They just passed a new law stating that if you are surrounding a vehicle in a protest and preventing that vehicle from moving, you can expect the drivers who step on the gas and run your ass over, and it will be legal. Okay, the daily reminder that DeSantis is the best governor ever and also the worst presidential candidate ever at the same time.
Yeah, and I got to say, when I look at this video, I think of me or my wife. We got our grandbaby in the car, and these lunatics start doing this. Every single, I mean, I would be okay if ICE came out of the shed armed, and it doesn't need to be the non-lethal weapons, and just start spraying and praying. Like, we don't know what's going on. We know this is unacceptable. If nothing happens, they will continue to do this. These are people going to work in a federal facility. Let's see what else happens. This is remarkable.
Yeah, and Fally makes the point. This is, I think, back to my comment here. It's like when they pulled out the truck driver and beat them to death. That was during the Summer of Love after our St. George Floyd was killed, apparently. But yes, the BLM crowd would rip you out of your vehicle. These guys, their team has assassinated conservative speakers. I don't know what they're going to do next. And it's really that simple. I do not know. I am afraid. Therefore, I will do anything to defend myself and my property right now. But Jason, we're not even halfway through the video. That's how insane this is. This just keeps going and going.
F you, kicking the car, preventing them from driving on a public street.
All right. Again, I want to hammer this point home. So the chanting started with some nonsensical, like, blah, blah, deportation. And then it went to shame, shame. And now it has gone to F this guy. What else can they say? They're pretty much out of words at this point. And again, in my mind, okay, how much more of this is going to be words, and when is it going to escalate to violence? In my mind, they can't go anywhere else past F the pigs, F this guy here. And again, need to daily. This is my 1 second reminder every second. Lethal force is now justified.
I believe that we will win. 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 Fuck this pig. Fuck this pig. Fuck this pig. Fuck this pig. I believe that we will win. 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 Fuck this pig. Fuck this pig. Fuck this pig. Fuck this pig. I believe that we will win. 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 Who's straight to our street? 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 Who's people? Our people. Who's people? Our people. Who's people?
I hope everybody watching this podcast sees this, understands the demonic left that we have. There is no middle ground. There is no changing their minds. There is no, this is the same mentality that killed Charlie Kirk. This is the same mentality that resulted in somebody shooting an ICE into the ICE crowd. This is, well said, Randall. These are animals. And seriously, wearing the mask. The sad thing is, I don't know if it's to hide their identity or because they're afraid of a virus. I don't know.
Probably both. If anyone's still afraid, it is definitely this collection of animals. Yes.
Right. Now, one would think if you're on the left, you would be like, okay, this is too far. Maybe we don't highlight this. Normal people might see us doing this to law enforcement, and it might make their blood boil. But Todd, our friend Kat, who, by the way, is leading this protest, do you want to share the video she shared on her Twitter account? It's going on her campaign.
By the way, that they were trying to cross the street and walk in the street, and this ICE agent's car was trying to stop them from walking on the street. So that's how she framed it up. We have a smart audience. Let's let them decide if she was trying to cross the street.
Up with liberation! Down, down with deportation! Up with liberation!
Up with liberation!
Down, down with deportation!
Down, down with deportation!
Up with liberation!
All right, so there's a future congresswoman just trying to walk across the street. Just trying to walk across the street, Jason.
Yeah, and I actually got to read the tweet because it is just so ridiculous. So, Kat, who is probably going to be elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, at the Broadview ICE facility, an ICE agent tried to run dozens of protesters over with an SUV as we walked on a crosswalk. He kept driving for a full football field until ICE barraged us with pepper balls. Think of that framing. Are you kidding me? Look, no reasonable person should look at this. And these are the ones, like, you wonder why ICE wears masks and Democrats are trying to get them demasked. It's because of this. Can you imagine? Any one of these people would go to this poor man's house. They would target his family. They would have nothing stopping them. And just think, somebody is going to mark the ballot for Kat. She's going to probably end up in the House of Representatives, who says, like, we were just walking across the street and the ICE agent tries to run us over. This makes my blood boil.
Yeah, they don't even care anymore. They will straight up lie to you. And what always gets me, maybe this is a good time to remind everyone that mass democracy might have been a good idea. It is an absolute failure here. Anyone that watches this video and believes Kat's narrative and is going to vote for her, this is why voting is too easy. You have no business making decisions for my life. You can't even make decisions for your own life.
Right. And, Todd, sometimes I get just fired up and drinking too much Split Rock coffee, but I see this and I see people. I'm responding kind of like with Charlie Kirk, where I was horrified by what happened to Charlie, but I was more horrified with people's reactions and that they thought that we live in a society where you could celebrate somebody getting shot. And do we want to do our Split Rock coffee read?
I was cheers in the audience there. You referenced Paul a couple times here. Folks, a little ad break for you. You can support a disabled veteran-owned coffee company right here in Minnesota where Jason and I broadcast from. Go to splitrockcoffee.com and use promo code TOD10. Subscribe and save today. Jason, I shared on Wayne's podcast when I filled in. I just got a French press. So I'm getting my whole beans now from splitrockcoffee.com. I use promo code TOD10. It feels great to put my own name in there. But I got the whole bean now. I got my fresh grinder ready to go. Drop in a little 100 degrees Celsius water there in the French press. Let it steep for a few minutes. I'm good to go. But I got to say, folks, if you want some delicious coffee and you want your money to go to a good cause, there is no one better than Paul Reese. SplitRockCoffee.com. Use promo code TOD10.
Yeah, I hope everything's okay with his dad. He usually tunes in on Fridays and jumps in the chat, but he always goes and sees his dad. So hopefully everything's okay.
Well, he's doing that or he's somewhere else. Paul is around the world. Every Friday, it's like, I am listening from this country today or this state today. So I envy Paul's traveling.
Yeah, and I hope K-Gun Girl's okay, too. K-Gun Girl's always the first check-in, and we never saw her on Rumble. So hopefully...
I got to say this too, Jason, before I think we're ready to move on to our next video here. We got to cover the New Jersey race. New Jersey is going to flip red. That's my prediction. How many of these people, this is also a great question to ask all of your Democrat voting family members or friends that are like, good for those people to get in front of the ICE car. They're making a real difference in the world. How many of these lunatics here have ever hosted an illegal family in their home, have ever taken time out of the day to drive an illegal for their doctor's appointment and then paid the bill themselves? How many of these people have done anything for an illegal immigrant or an illegal immigrant's family in this country just once? Just one time. What have you ever done personally for an illegal? And again, it just exposes the fraudulence here. They think they're moral people, better people. They're showing you how good of people they are because they're resisting Trump's Gestapo. They have not lifted a finger. Not a single one of these people, not Lou in the chat, not Patrick in the chat before, have ever done anything to help these illegals, but they will remind you all day long that they're better because they care about them.
Right. Oh, well, and actually Sim just came in. Sim Sadamine. Welcome, Sim.
Welcome, Sim.
We're the voice from the white that weaponizing the DOJ is wrong. Now, I'm going to guess Sim is probably not a MAGA person, not an American First person. And we talk about this on our show, but this is a perfect time. Thanks for participating, Sim. We appreciate you. The rules of engagement have changed. For too long, the right holds this principled position. Weaponizing the Department of Justice is wrong. Let's not do it. Meanwhile, the left gets in power and says, let's weaponize the Department of Justice. Do we need to pull up? I shared an image on Twitter that was like, I don't know who made it, but it was like all the people that were politically persecuted under Joe Biden. And it was Trump in the middle and Michael Flynn and Rudy and everybody. And here's how this game is played. Democrats do bad thing. Republicans get in power and they say, and Republicans complain Democrats do bad thing. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Republicans get in power, say, oh, we're not going to do bad thing. And then Democrats get back in power. They continue doing bad thing. And and this is our suicidal empathy that we fall into and that was Ted Cruz. That's every Republican before Donald Trump in my lifetime, maybe other than Pat Buchanan. We probably should have elected Pat Buchanan. But they always like, we want to take some moral high road. No, at some point you have to say, this is the new rules of the game. We need to fight and play by those rules. And we cannot like the rules. We can maybe change the rules, but we can't not follow the same rules that the left does. Otherwise, we continue getting trounced. We continue ceding ground. I mean, this to me, stopping protesters. We covered a month or so ago the one in Minneapolis where they said, oh, there's an ICE raid. And hundreds of people went to act like this. They were actually stopping a child trafficking ring and they were stopping an amphetamine ring. And why is it okay for people to do this level of disruption to law enforcement? And how on earth do you think that if you really think we should let anybody in the country win an election and pass a law, like win an election and pass a law? Donald Trump did not need to pass any laws to secure our border and start removing. It sounds like a couple million are gone so far. I need another digit behind that. But Todd, I just get so fired up.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in on Sim as well. It's just a stupid comment. Is Sim saying that he wants corrupt actors in DC to continue unabated and without consequence? So Sim, if you're mad about James Comey getting indicted, are you fine that these unelected bureaucrats can just lie to the American people endlessly and without consequence and destroy this country? Is that what you're suggesting? And I said at the start of the show, Sim, I encourage you to go back and listen to the whole thing here so you can open up your eyes and your mind a little bit here. Donald Trump, when he's going after these people, it's because they committed crimes. It's not because de facto political opponent. Now, the fact that they are a political opponent it's a nice touch, and it's going to be a natural side effect of going after corrupt actors in Washington, D.C. and the establishment. But he's not going after them because he was a former Democrat-appointed FBI director. He's going after them because he lied to the American people and facilitated the Russia collusion hoax. And so I guess you are saying you are fine with all those lies because my side, whatever rules it takes, is all that it matters. But then on that ground alone, how can you get mad at us for playing by the same rules like Jason articulated here? Absolutely idiotic comment, Sim.
Okay, Todd, should we get to this New Jersey race?
We got to get to New Jersey.
So New Jersey, I'd have to look it up. Do you remember when the last time New Jersey had a Republican governor?
I am typing it into the old Google really fast here.
It has been a long time.
Well, I suppose it would have been Chris Christie off the top of my head, right?
Probably.
So I don't think in the too far distant past. I guess Chris Christie was 2018 when he left office, so not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
But when was
so New Jersey? Well, do you want to frame up the governor's race, Todd?
Well, now I'm really curious when the last time they went red in a presidential election, because maybe that's what I'm thinking of with New Jersey. All right, we're on Wikipedia here. The last time New Jersey went for a republic, it was 1988 with George Bush. So when we think of New Jersey being a blue state, I think that's why. Kind of like Minnesota. Minnesota, awful in federal elections, but we've had our fair share of like Republicans, Tim Pawlenty, for example, not that long ago either. But in New Jersey, you have a Trump-endorsed Republican candidate now going up against a current Congresswoman, I guess her name is, by the name of, let me pull this up, Mickey Sherrill. And in a recent clip that we have for you folks, the Trump-endorsed, and I'm going to be bad with Italian names, Jack Ciattarelli. I butchered that. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. He is endorsed by Trump, and he's calling this Cheryl character out for saying, how is it that you enriched yourself while serving in D.C.? You've made a lot of money. And in the meantime, actually, Jason, I want to, let's just do the clip first, because then we can do her backstory in a little bit to kind of add to this here. But let's focus on how she has enriched herself while serving in Congress, just calling out her corruption. You can see her response to it. And then Jason and I are going to dive into her background from the Naval Academy, and it's getting really juicy out there in New Jersey.
Because I'm going to make sure that he doesn't get to serve again when I win for governor in November of this year.
There's another big difference between her public service and my public service. It actually cost me money the time I put in and took away from my company. In the 7 years that she's been in Congress, she's tripled her net worth. There's another big difference between the two of us, okay? She broke the law. She had to pay fines for violating federal law on stock trades and stock reporting, and the New York Times reports that while you're sitting on the House Armed Services Committee, you were trading defense stocks.
So that's getting pretty juicy.
That is.
She actually, I give Charlemagne the God some credit here. I can't stand this guy's podcast, but he has this gal on, and he asked her about that, what was referenced at the end, making a lot of money trading stocks while sitting on the House Armed Services Committee. Let's listen to her response.
Newsmax claims that you made $7 million from stock trades. What are they talking about?
Newsmax is, first of all, a very questionable organization that is paying multiple fines. I'm not sure what they're talking about.
Well, did you make $7 million in stock trades at all? Or?
I haven't. I don't believe I did, but I'd have to go see what that was alluding to again. What kind of came from?
Yes.
I don't know, Todd. If I made $7 million, I could probably tell you.
I think I would know if I made $7 million. And did you notice, though, he referenced, I can't even pronounce his name. He said the New York Times reported you made a ton of money trading stocks. And now Charlemagne uses Newsmax. And did you notice how the Dem conveniently was like, that's Newsmax. Yeah, that's just Newsmax. They're making up stories. But by the way, I don't know if I made that money or not.
Right.
I can't lie. I just can't outright lie. So I'll say, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. It could be that I maybe made $7 million. Now, the latest thing to come out is her Navy service. Now, you're reading up more on that than me. Do you want to talk about her Navy service?
All right. Well, first, let me frame up the left's coverage of this story here. So they're complaining that the military service, the National Archives, released this information about her to the Ciattarelli campaign. I'll never get his name right. But the narrative goes that too much information got released. They doxed her. Her social security number is out. Her address is out. By the way, CBS then publishes all of that information anyways in their report after the headlining of that. But this woman, Mickey Sherrill, went to the Naval Academy in the early 1990s. And our audience is probably old enough to remember, for the most part, a huge academic scandal that broke out in 1994, which happens to be the year that this woman was supposed to graduate. And reading from CBS, in which more than 100 midshipmen were implicated in cheating on their final exam. Now, CBS goes on to report that Sherrill herself was not accused of cheating and said her only involvement was not informing on her classmates. And so she knew about the scandal. She didn't get involved in the scandal because we should trust her on that. She knew about it, but just didn't report it, and enabled her classmates by the hundreds to cheat on their exams. The story continues. All right, here we go. The only details redacted in the document. Oh, they are social security numbers of former people here. The technician should not have released the entire record. The National Archives go on to say here. I'm scrolling. It's a rather long article here. Here we go. Cheryl had an unblemished career in the Navy. Yes, unblemished minus the cheating scandal. And as a midshipman, received a Navy Achievement Medal in 1991 for saving the life of a fellow classmate. Completely irrelevant. However, she does not appear in a commencement program obtained by CBS for the May 25th, 1994 date because of her connection to the cheating scandal. She was not allowed to walk with her graduating class in 1994, again, because of her connection to the cheating scandal. She does appear in the yearbook, however, and the U.S. Naval Academy and Naval Personnel Command both told CBS she graduated and was commissioned on that date.
So much to unpack. I got to hop in the comments first. So, hey, first we had Paul. Paul joined. Top of the morning, Paul.
Split Rock Coffee, Paul.
Split Rock Coffee, Paul, over on the Rumble. And then we had Lou. Lou's still sticking with us. We appreciate you, Lou. Like, and now I could say too, I don't know if your image is like some black guy pointing a gun. That's probably something. Didn't the Orange Man say in his inauguration speech, never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents? He did, Lou, and he's not. James Comey's a criminal. Unlike the people they went after on the right, James Comey's a criminal. James Comey lied to Congress. James Comey leaked information. When you talk about Watergate, essentially Watergate was using the federal government. Nixon used the federal government to spy on his political opponent. That is what Russiagate was. They took the Russiagate investigation. They spied on Trump's campaign. And then even worse, they leaked it to the media. These twisted, spun up stories where they're only telling like a quarter of the truth. So, and then it's funny because then they bring out the Watergate guy to go, it's worse than Watergate, when Russiagate is literally Watergate plus some. So Orange Man did say that. Orange Man is living by that. And then we do have Susan and Susanna Oetsker says, appreciate you tuning in. No matter what side you're on, violence is never the answer. We need more compassion, not division. And then she chimes in again. Hello, blaming one side really doesn't help. Hate and division can come from anywhere. We need to find ways to come together. You know, you watch the video of the conduct of the people at the ICE facility, Susan. My challenge to you, you can shoot Todd and I a message on Twitter. We will pay for your GoPro camera. We will pay for your travel to Chicago. You can go film yourself talking to those people, saying, hey, guys, this guy's just going to work. Please let him through. Go do that. Freedom for the Press podcast will pay for your trip. We'll pay for your camera. We will live stream it. And I will encourage you to have a civil discussion with all those people in the crosswalk and that you can just reach, and we don't need division. Let me know how it goes. It'll be great. We'll take the content rights, but we'll pay for your travel and whatnot. Go have a nice civil conversation with them, and then we'll report back in the audience like how it went.
Jason, I think our friend Susanna is a Fed or a plant or someone trying to sow division among MAGA here as she continues to comment about getting to know everyone and hello. Don't fall for this narrative, folks. Susanna is not a well-intentioned human being or a bot, more likely here. There is no compromise with the left. There is zero compromise. We all saw their reaction to Charlie Kirk's horrific assassination. You can see them cheerlead these attacks on ICE agents and trying to stop ICE vehicles. There's no saving them. There is no coming back. What little hope I had to reconcile with the other half of this country died the day Charlie Kirk died as well. They can only be defeated. There will be no unity, no compromise, and I don't want it with them. If they have communist values, why do I want to compromise with them anyways? But now I know beyond a reasonable doubt, I know with absolute certainty that they will never see the things that we do, the way that we do. And so, no, there is no middle ground. There's no coming together. They don't want to come together. Therefore, I don't want to come together with them anymore either. They simply must be defeated.
Right. Yeah. And here's what's funny with this story is if you look at this story, the story is she was doing a stolen valor narrative, making it sound like she graduated with honors. She wasn't part of this scandal. And they asked for the information and they released too much. And so CBS tries to spin it like, look how incompetent these people are. They release too much information. When, for those of us on the right, how many times in the last decade has it been released documents on Trump? Was it like uninformed sources or unnamed sources? Somebody literally gave the media a copy of Donald Trump's tax return in their mailbox, and the media just loved running with the story. But now when somebody in the administration says, fine, you want the records? Here's all the records. They're like, oh no, her social security number's out. Spare me.
The rules have changed. The theme is that the rules have changed. We will play by their rules. And yeah, you mentioned stolen valor here. This is partly what sank the Kamala Harris presidential campaign, because she chose, for some god-awful reason, Tim Walz. I mean, it worked out in our favor here. Tim Walz's stolen valor stories came out. This woman appears to have committed the same crime. This is punishable by prison, by the way. They're trying to seek information whether Cheryl had ever exaggerated her rank after leaving the Navy. Congressional records show she was selected for advancement to lieutenant commander in September 2003. Records obtained through a FOIA request by CBS and the inquiries of the U.S. Naval Academy and Naval Personnel Command show Cheryl left the Navy at the rank of lieutenant in December 2003 before she received the promotion. Now, Joe Biden referred to her as a lieutenant commander in October of 2021. We are still waiting to see if she herself ever referred to herself as a lieutenant commander. But again, stolen valor, the theme of the Democrats.
Yeah, and we have a lot of vets that serve in or that listen to our show. And like Paul's a disabled vet. We have a number of other people who either served or the relative had. And I have to say, like, no higher honor than somebody who serves their country. And for them, like, and let us know in the chat, you guys know better than we do, like, falsifying your rank is one of those most egregious sins you could have, in my opinion. And I think that anybody that does that's just an awful person. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. If you're going out and knowingly lie about your rank, it's just like, lock them up. They shouldn't be able to serve in public office. It's a horrible thing to do.
Never forget, they expelled George Santos for lying about his resume, and yet somehow Tim Walz remains in office as governor. Somehow Mickey Sherrill is allowed to run for governor in New Jersey here. The rules only ever go one way, and so when idiots like Lou hop in the chat and the other guy whose name I already forgot, they say, well, what do you mean you're not mad about this? The rules are only ever going in one direction. It is time to apply the rules and play on an even playing field. That is it. That is it.
That is. All right. On that note, Todd, we should probably wrap up on the Facebook and the YouTube here. Do you want to close it down and bring us out?
Yeah. Well, big shout out, Rumble community. Excited to keep this conversation going with you. But Stuart on Facebook, I'm just going with recency bias here. Donna, Lester, so many folks on Facebook. I can't even pop you all in the chat here. But thanks for tuning in over on Facebook. We appreciate you watching. Appreciate you commenting. If you haven't already, give the show a like, thumbs up if you enjoyed what you listened to today. We're not done yet, though. You can still find us as we go to exclusively Rumble. Rumble.com. Look for the American Tribune. That is our channel name, and we are Freedom from the Press Podcast. If you head over to Rumble.com, if you're on your desktop, we should pop up there on the live podcast feed. If you want to watch on your phone, Rumble has an app. It's just like YouTube. YouTube is red. Rumble is green. It's got a green play button. And again, that is Rumble. And look for the American Tribune. But we got to cut it off, because even though Donald Trump's in office and even though Mark Zuckerberg gave some money to his inauguration fund, you can't say what you want to say over on the old Facebook still. Big tech still hates conservatives. Jim Jordan did write a strongly worded letter to YouTube, so I'm sure that'll change things over on YouTube really soon. But they hate us. They hate our ideas. They want us silenced. And just like Charlie Kirk, we can see what that kind of silencing means. So we're going to end the feed on Facebook. We're going to end the feed on YouTube. Head over to Rumble.com. Look for the American Tribune. We are back in 60 seconds, and we got another half hour to dive into. We got to talk Hillary Clinton. We got to talk more ICE raids and Gestapo. Folks, we are just getting started. We'll see you on the other side.
Hey, Rumble only. Thanks for tuning in. We'll always give it a minute here. We'll wait, see if anybody pops in. It's fun sometimes. We get like 5-10 extra people popping over. That's kind of fun. And I got to say, Todd, that first hour was really hard to do because we probably didn't push it a little too much with the videos and some of the things we're saying. At that ICE facility, if those frickin' ICE agents came out and opened fire on that crowd, I would not have given two shits. Let me know in the Rumble chat if you agree, if you think I'm too far. Like what they are doing to our law enforcement. We didn't stop it in 2020, and they burned the goddamn city of Minneapolis down over it. And this has to stop.
Yep. Jason, I've been trying to square this circle here. Our collective reaction in Charlie Kirk's assassination and just the sheer incredulity of seeing how the left celebrated that. And now I'm trying to wrap my head around this as well. And I think I've come to a reasonable explanation or justification here.
We haven't gotten to the more perfect union, and we fought a civil war.
Is that me or you?
We're both cooking. I just didn't want the black box.
So when you say that, I agree with you. I want these protesters shot down on sight. I want a bullet between the eyes. I don't want them to be shot in the leg. I don't want them to use rubber bullets. I want them gone. And to the layperson listening, you're like, well, you were mad when the left celebrated Charlie Kirk and you're mad, but now you're advocating for violence against these guys. Yes, I am. The difference is they want Charlie Kirk and all of us dead because of who we are and what we believe. I want them shot dead because of what they are doing. This is a big difference here. And it took me a long time to figure out how that made sense. Chat, let me know if I'm wrong or if I'm on the right page. You agree with that or not? The big difference is that they want us dead simply for who we are and what we believe in. I'm fine letting these people live out their mass lives thinking Trump's a Hitlerian Gestapo figure with his ICE raids. If they don't do anything about that, then fine. Think what you want to think. But it's when you translate those thoughts into actions that we have a big problem. You want to stand in front of an ICE vehicle? You want to throw a Molotov cocktail at a Portland federal courthouse? Do you want to go continue all this nonsense in the streets of Antifa? You cross the line. Now you don't deserve the right to live anymore. I'm not sharing a country with that. Think whatever you want to think, but as soon as it translates into action, that's where I have a problem with you. And that's where I'm full steam ahead.
Well, and most of our audience has kids, right? And we've raised kids. We've gone through the ups and downs. And every single one of us have seen that, like with kids, if you let behavior to continue, it only escalates. We have seen the ultimate escalation in shooting Charlie Kirk, shooting President Trump, shooting the ICE facility, January 2020, Summer of Love. We have seen where the escalation goes. It has to stop. And Will's explored this very well on the Substack, the American Tribune.news, where he talks about how in the 70s, people forget about how much violence there was in the 70s. The Weather Underground, all these communist terrorist organizations were trying to start race riots, all the same stuff Antifa's doing. And they were doing it for equality, so it was okay. And I mean, it was so bad. There was like an average of 3 bombings a year, bombs in America. And none of these people were prosecuted. Many changed their names and actually went into academia and different things. And if we don't stop Antifa, root out, lock up the people funding it, lock up the people who are doing this, who are committing this violence, if we don't stop it, it's just going to continue.
Well, and it will continue in the sense, not only will the left continue, but the right at some point is going to snap. So I feel like most men, and I don't want to exclude women here, but most men are 0 or 100. They're fine. They'll deal with it. They'll tolerate it. They'll figure out a solution and not let it bother them. But there is a point in every man's life when they are like, screw this. The switch has been turned on. And if the men on the right get that switch turned on here, we're in a hot war with these leftist agitators. And by all means, I want them crushed, but I don't want the country engaged in a hot war. I would much rather prefer, and I can't believe this is controversial, we're like, please tone it down. Arrest these people so that we can avoid a larger conflict here. So such a controversial right-wing take to say, I don't want political violence in this country. But that's where we're at here. That's why we need to arrest people, though, so it doesn't continue and get worse from both sides.
Oh, my God. Paul just shared in the chat that Ben Burgum tweet. And so if you click on it, as I was leaving the Broadview ICE Detention Center, protesters were complaining about an arrest. You'll hear one say the agency's carrying a gun. So evidently at that same facility, that video we showed was from yesterday, they just arrested a protester with a gun. How many ICE people need to get frickin' shot before the, and here's the thing, they are going to continue escalating until we give up. I can't, and it's funny, I do Wayne's podcast with him during the week, and Wayne's kind of one of the take the high roads, we need to have principle guys. They are shooting and killing people. How on earth, how many people went to jail for the Summer of Love? Like none of them. You know, the people funding it, the people who did it, none of them. Yeah, go ahead and play the video.
They just shot rubber balls.
Arrest them all, shoot them all. I don't even care.
They shouldn't even be allowed to be there anymore. If you want to protest, you ask your city for permission to go down one sidewalk. That's it. You protesting outside these facilities needs to be shut down. You have no right to protest outside in an ICE facility at this point. Not in the climate we're in right now. Not with the violence that they have brought with them. This all needs to be shut down. You even look at that building the wrong way, you're in jail for a year.
Right. Oh, it just breaks my heart. All right. Fally was demanding we play Hillary Clinton.
I know Fally is a big Hillary fan. I know she was really enjoying. I think Hillary's got the same blue pantsuit that other chick, Meryl from New Jersey, the governor's race, was wearing too. I think they go shopping at the same store. But this one's for you, Fally. We will play Hillary Clinton. I know you've been waiting all hour for it.
Part of it. And people have been protesting, for hundreds of years that, things were not as they should be given our ideals and how we should be moving toward them. So I think that's what makes us so special as a country. And the idea that you could turn the clock back and try to recreate a world that never was, dominated by, let's say it, white men of a certain persuasion, a certain religion, a certain point of view, a certain ideology, is just doing such damage to...
Just to translate the euphemisms there, straight, Christian, conservative, white male. That's the enemy that Hillary Clinton is laying out. That sounds a lot like Charlie Kirk, Jason. Straight, Christian, conservative, white, male.
Now, can we dispel some myths here? Our audience is fairly nuanced. So from the founding of the country up until about 20 minutes ago, really probably till about like 50s and 60s, pretty much the entire nation was white Christian males. We had immigrants, yeah. We had freed slaves in the black population, yeah. So right now, most of what we're enjoying was built by white Christian males with the support of their wives and kids, and with the support and black people. We don't need to go into slavery. It was not built by Muslims. It wasn't built by women for the most part. I mean, up until about 20 minutes ago, women were raising the kids and having babies, and like, not saying that, but that role was important because then that let men go do the work and the building stuff. Like, this was not built by third world Haitian immigrants. Country wasn't built by Mexicans. The country wasn't built by all of these things. So trying to rewrite history that the nation wasn't built by white Christian males is utter insanity. But people believe this, Todd.
And it's worse than just rewriting history, as absurd as it is. She's calling for more violence against these people. She's calling you a threat. If you identify and check those boxes that Hillary Clinton laid out, conservative, Christian, straight white male, if you're one of them, you're a problem. And how have we seen the left deal with those problems? She needs to be arrested for inciting violence. That is where I'm at. When we talk about Trump coming down hard and he can't come down hard enough on these people, it is segments like this that if he arrested her, if he had goons outside the studio, armed guards saying, "That's it, Hillary," I would be fine with that. And in fact, I would be celebrating that. This can't go on anymore. This is not just some, my opinion, freedom of speech issue. This is a call to violence.
What we should be aiming for. And we were on the path toward that. I mean, imperfectly, lots of, bumps along the way, but I agree with you. We were on the right trajectory.
Yeah, towards communism. They hate this country. They hate everything that created this country. Again, the problem in the country is why we have this country. But they hate everything about it. That's what she's upset about, that we didn't destroy it enough. And I lost 2016, and I could have continued destroying it.
All right, I'm going to switch the videos quickly. Hillary. Dee even had to mute it and then come back. So we'll just pull up the ICE guy. I can watch ICE tackle these guys all day long, by the way. It's just really funny. But Fally brings up a great point, too. Why is it we treat a stay-at-home mom as a bad thing? And I got to say, one of the biggest crimes that has been committed in America in my lifetime is the whole advent of the girl boss thing. And the country functioned way better when we focused on dad went home and got the break-in and mom fried it up in a pan. Mom raised the kids. And somehow people thought women were missing out. I don't know about you, Todd, but like when I had my son, my wife and I were like, we don't want to do daycare. One of us should stay home. I'm like, pick me. I get to cook, clean up the house, play with the kid all day. Like, it was a pretty phenomenal deal. One of my buddies, his wife is a doctor. He became a stay-at-home dad. He's like, this is the greatest ever. Like, I don't know. Like, why would I want to go out of the house and push for all this stuff? And that's not saying women aren't capable or women can't. Like, my wife works. She does it. She's a great employee. We have women in the audience that work. But the fact that we've stigmatized being a mom just drives me bananas.
Yeah, I got to say, I give my wife a lot of credit here. So I have a 5-year-old now. She just turned 5. And so we'll ask her, what do you want to be when you grow up? She sees mom and dad going to work. I want to do what dad does because he's gone for a couple hours every day and I see him again and he's doing a little work on his computer. It looks pretty nice. I want to do what dad does. But we always say you can be a mom too. So we're really trying to impress upon her that, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? A mom. And if you become a mom, you will be the most fulfilled, satisfied woman on planet Earth. I don't know, Jason. I've listened to the feminist lies my entire life. It's been around certainly longer than I've been on planet Earth. But for all this talk about if only they were liberated from the patriarchy, if only they had their own paycheck, if only they went out and conquered the world the same way men do, they'll just be happy. And I look around, I have never found a contented, happy leftist female. My wife, who is she's more red-pilled than I am on certain issues here. She's angry that she got lied to. Go to college, get a career, find a guy later in life. She believed those lies as a younger person, and she hates them for it. She's not better off because she followed that path for a while. She was miserable because of it. Women will always be happier 99.99% of the time focusing on kids first, on their family first. And yes, the feminist lies, they outrage me.
Yeah, well, actually, we have that going on with the kids, where the lefty stepdaughter who is now discovering she really wants to be a stay-at-home mom, and she's kind of going through that disconnect. Like, I was told this was bad. I was told I should work or I'm less of a person. And as she holds her baby, it's like, all I want to do is spend every minute of my day with my baby. And it's so true. And it's one of the ultimate lies. And then I think you see these women who are later in life, never had the chance to have a kid. And then you see it even with guys who just like, my goal is to chase women. And no, get married, be responsible, be an adult. It's crazy.
Yeah, I do want to touch on this too, because oftentimes this conversation steers in one way, and Jason and I are certainly not saying it. I don't think our audience takes it that way. Sally writes, my husband and I stayed in the restaurant business for 45, couldn't afford to stay at home. Whenever we talk about the ideal, or this is not a one size fits all, it's not a ding on women for working. The reality, unfortunately, is that you do need two incomes a lot of times here. So if you are a woman going in the workforce here, providing for your family, it's not that that's a negative on you. It doesn't reflect poorly on you whatsoever here. So I don't think that needs to be said. But sometimes when you get these red pill dudes that are like, I'm the trad, I'm going to go work. I got my trad wife, she's going to stay in the house. Like, that's just not reality for most folks. And there's nothing wrong with going out and working and providing for your family. The ideal is that women would get to stay home. I think most women would choose to stay home if they could and they had the opportunity. But that doesn't work for people. And just because you're a stay-at-home mom doesn't mean you get a side gig, doesn't mean you work some days of the week, trade off with hubby watching the kids and you work for a little bit. None of that is off the table either.
Yeah, and like I say, for women that want to choose to go work, like, have at it, ladies. But it's funny when I look at like religion, or when you want the policy to be the greatest thing that's going to have the greatest impact to the greatest number of people, and fostering traditional families, traditional gender roles, traditional roles and responsibilities for building a family and whatnot is like the most good for most people. And that's not saying people don't stray from that or people don't take different paths, and like I say, my buddy who was a stay-at-home dad, like, that was a non-traditional path, that worked for him, although him and his wife got divorced, but separate issue. But it's like, man, I don't know how we stigmatize, like Hillary Clinton talking about straight white males. Like, straight white males were the dominant, like, everybody agreed, like, that's what built this country. And now if you look at the number of different melting pot we've brought in the last 50, 60 years, it has not made our country better, Todd. It is not.
And it's such a bizarre take on an academic level, like setting aside politics, just looking at this from a 30,000 foot view. Would you ever dream of asking that question if you went to China or Somalia, or throw a dart on a map with a homogenous population that has its own history and cultures and values? And would you ever fathom someone going in there and saying, do you know what's wrong with this country? You people that have developed the history of this nation and hold it together currently right now, you wouldn't even dream of doing that. It wouldn't even cross your head. But in this postmodern, progressive, communist culture we live in, it makes sense for half the country to be like, do you know what the problem with this straight, hetero, Christian, white nation is? It's all the straight, hetero, white Christians that built it. They're the problem of this country. Like, it is so bizarre if you try to even think about it.
Well, yeah, and it's funny. We run into it in the business as the four original. We've brought in other partners, and like, they show up and it's like, your business is doing really good. You guys are making a good living. You're doing, and immediately it's like, let me tell you how you need to do it. And I'm like, maybe you should actually make a few dollars, maybe actually do this before you come tell us. But in America, this white liberal mindset, you run the greatest country in the history of mankind. I mean, right now, virtually every American has a house if they choose to and don't be a drug addicted lunatic. They have a smartphone. They could order a burrito to have it delivered to your front door. Meanwhile, in Africa, Mr. Beast is having to go over there and build the well because they can't do it. And like, we're bringing people from all these countries that suck, and they just want to tell us, like, this is what you need to do to make it great. Like, send them home. Send Ilhan Omar home. Send them all home. Ugh.
I say this somewhat jokingly, but I'm almost a single issue voter, Jason. Whoever is going to expel Omar from Congress and deport her, I will vote for that person.
Oh my God.
And for the symbolism, just for the pure symbolism of, like, we can do this to anybody.
Well, and Ilhan Omar, I mean, everybody talks about her brother and stuff. What I think's the most egregious is that her dad was in the communist regime that was overthrown in Somalia, and her family fled. And the reason they were in danger is because her parents and her beliefs were the communist beliefs that got overthrown. How do even Minnesotans don't know that? You're like, yeah, her dad was like one of the strongmen for the communist dictator that got overthrown, and that's how she ended up a refugee. And people don't even know that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Although I will say we didn't know the whole story until Will did the research.
Your dad murdered hundreds of thousands of your countrymen, and they wanted to get retribution on you, and that's what made you a political refugee. We kind of glossed over the important part of her background when we let her come to America.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Paul, too. He found, I think you saw this. I didn't know if we'd want to cover it. I knew we'd have to cover it.
Yeah, I saw it too. Yeah.
Should we play it?
All right, let me pull it up. Can I go? Let's just talk about this really fast here. We had to touch on this, Jason, and then we'll finish up with the Trump thing. Because I have this up on I want to close this browser here. Titled the show, haven't touched on it yet. But folks, were you aware that the FBI now admits to Congress, by the way, it had over 200, has here the number is 275 plainclothes agents in the crowd on January 6th. 275 FBI plainclothes officers embedded in the field on January 6th. I couldn't not talk about this today. We cannot gloss over this pretty significant fact that we are now just finding out about. The FBI, you talk about arresting Comey first. Comey knew about this the entire time. Why are we learning about this 4.5 years later? This should have been day one. Let's just get it out there. There were almost 300 of us in plain clothes. Now, were they opening barricades? Were they trying to keep the peace that didn't work out that well? I will let you imagine your own, come to your own conclusions about what those people were doing here. But 275, this is a huge story.
January 6th. The January 6th committee. Gitmo for all of them.
Yes.
The people that promulgated the insurrection host. Gitmo for all of them. Paul in the chat, the ghost buses. We've seen the videos of the people changing in Antifa stuff. And when I first saw this, and Todd and I, was funny, we both drew the same first conclusion. This is like the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping hoax. And I'll have the numbers a little off, but if you remember, a bunch of white supremacists were going to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. And it turned out like 8 of the 10 guys were federal agents. So it was like 8 federal agents and 2 retards, and somehow they got the 2 retards charged, and there were more federal agents than conspirators on the kidnapping of Gretchen Whitmer. Now, January 6th, we're discovering the reports are 200 law enforcement injured on January 6th of some degree. That could be anything, a bruise or whatnot. Once again, protesters should not have been violent against law enforcement. If you want to charge them, lock them up, completely okay with it. The protesters that were just there that weren't violent, no, not so much. And you had about 200, or you had a couple thousand protesters. So there was like a 10-to-1 ratio, right? And now you've got another 200-300. So now you've got like 500 to 700 law enforcement for 2,000 protesters. And I didn't see any of these federal agents trying to protect the cat. I mean, if this really was an insurrection, wouldn't they like jump in and start shooting people, Todd? I mean, isn't that...
That was always the obvious question to ask. If our democracy was really under attack and almost collapsed that day, wouldn't they take a more serious approach towards de-escalating?
Yeah, it was funny. That always cracked me up about January 6th. Like, if it was really an insurrection, somebody would have been shot. I mean, the military would have come in. Like they would have been shooting protesters if our government was really in danger of being toppled. I mean, like, I can't even imagine. But yeah, thanks for reminding me. I forgot about that. I'm so pissed about this ICE facility, and it's funny because I remember sitting through the George Floyd protests. And I didn't just watch the news coverage, like a Unicorn Riot. If you're in Minnesota, it's an independent media organization and they're left wing and they cover these protests. They were like live streaming from these protests. And to see what was happening was just horrific. And most people don't know there was another protest for like 8 days when the one lady, instead of tasering the kid, she shot him. And the Brooklyn Center police headquarters had to put up barricades, and there were thousands of protesters there. They were trying to storm the fences. It was horrible. And Jen and I watch it every night, just live streamed on the YouTube. Oh, sun's going down. Let's throw on this. And it was
fact, Jason. I worked in Brooklyn Center at the time, and our school district shut down for 2 weeks
because of that protest.
And our high school staged protesting parking. Our high school was across the street from the police department in Brooklyn Center. And our school district said, protesters, you can park your vehicles here and then walk across the street and protest. They encouraged our students and our staff to go there. I have photographs of staff members there with their signs. I have photographs of students at the police headquarters encouraged by school district officials to go and make their voices heard against racism.
Oh my God, we should almost pull some of those videos from one of the Rumble onlys, but you wouldn't believe it. I mean, there was every night, there was a couple thousand people out there.
There was quite the turnout, and it got violent every night. Buildings were boarded up. Some of them never returned. I actually wrote an article on, I think, Blue State Conservative back then. I had a ton of photographs. I drove around Brooklyn Center after work for a couple days and got snapshots of all the boarded up windows, the burned down buildings. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, and it was almost January, or it was George Floyd level. It looked like, oh, we should do an episode on that. That would be so fun. We'd have to do it Rumble only, though. Maybe the Rumble only audience would be interested. But it's one of those stories that was never even covered, even in local media. They'd be like, oh, there's protests over at the police department. And that was it.
It was peaceful. It was mostly peaceful, Jason.
It was mostly peaceful. Do we end with this video?
The Trump one?
Yeah, well, the Trump. So thanks for sharing this, Paul. So it sounds like I might have the details wrong. This isn't Trump. These are MAGA people.
They're Trump supporters. Yeah.
Trump supporters. This is a Halloween display in Texas. How many times have we heard don't mess with Texas?
Texas is really disappointing, by the way, politically.
Right. So they got barbed wire. They have nooses hanging MAGA people. They got coffins.
Is it an accident that the executioner is wearing like a rainbow shirt for the most part?
Rainbow shirt with the Mexican flag.
It could just be the bright Mexican colors in a poncho, but I go right to like, no, that's a rainbow jihadist right there hanging the Trump supporters.
Right. Now, that's happening. And like I say, I don't know for sure this is true. It's been reported by Freedom News. They're pretty solid. These are the people they want you to take the high road with. These are the people, and like that's a decent looking neighborhood. You know, if you look at the houses around, like the cars aren't all piece of craps. Like, I mean, it looks like things are pretty reasonable there. These are the people, and let me just say, can you imagine if that was a black man hanging from the news? This would be on the front page of every newspaper everywhere.
I can't think of a better example. Just, yeah. Put a white guy, put a Trump supporter standing there instead of the Mexican, put the American flag waving or the Confederate flag, and two black dudes hanging from there. I'm sure the media would ignore that too.
Yeah, or have the standing guy be a MAGA guy and the hanger being a tranny or somebody in a rainbow shirt. I'm sure the media would ignore it. They wouldn't even cover it. You know what I mean? This is what they think of you. And it's funny for any people who want us to be friends with them, to think that this is going to get better. And I still hope and pray we change minds. Democrats will see this and have no problem with this. And this isn't even Trump or Charlie Kirk. This is you and me, Todd. This is our audience. This is Dee Dee. This is Paul Reese that they have demonized so much that in America, this isn't even a news story.
Pretty wild. Boy, just when you think it can't get any worse.
Right. Well, on that note, should we button up and get out of here for the weekend?
I think we do. That was a good Rumble only section today. Good to check in with everybody again. It was just weird, Jason. You and I were off for a couple of weeks in a row, so now we're back in a groove. We got 2 weeks under our belt again together here, but always fun to connect with you guys, hang out with you guys. The Rumble chat was busy today. We had Fally, Kagan Girl. We had Paul in the chat here. You know who we didn't have was Kev.
We
had
haven't
Edie in the
seen
chat.
Kev on the Wayne Dupree podcast either. Have you got him on yours?
Francis. Yeah, I haven't seen Kevin in a while either. Francis was in chat here. The gang was all here. We'll call him the gang. Kevin's kind of the honorary gang.
Yeah. Well, and Todd got to fill in this week on the Wayne Dupree podcast.
I had a good time. I always love Wayne's audience. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I got to say, a lot of you guys are Wayne Dupree podcast listeners too. Wayne's doing okay. Wayne's going through some stuff. So he, yeah, the guy needs to take a few weeks off and he's not going to.
He needs to put himself first for a while.
Right. Yeah. And I think he's just run himself too thin. It's funny because that's what happened with Jen when she went through all her health stuff. It was, how can I say it? Like she just pushed herself too hard and then mental stress and all that. So, but keep praying for Wayne. Wayne's a great guy. I like Wayne. Don't always agree with what he says. But he's he's a great guy. Oh, and Paul's tuning in with Hutch Friday night Cold War Radio.
All right.
And Paul said he chatted with Kev yesterday. So hopefully Kev's doing all right. We miss him.
Well, with that being said, Jason, man, I feel like you always sign us off, don't you?
I'm going to kick us out of here, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in. We love you guys. We hope you have a good weekend. Do me a favor. Go do something fun. Go to church. Enjoy one of these last nice few fall weekends. Do something to make the battle worth it. Make your life better. And most importantly, Todd was an earlier adapter than I was, and I'm slowly coming around. It is astounding how much these people hate you, your family, your faith, your church, and what they're going to do. And that's why I've always been a Donald Trump go nuts. But right now, I don't care, Donald Trump. I just hope and pray you are as aggressive as you need to be to make this stop. On that note, we'll see everybody next week.
Have a great weekend, folks.